This conference will now be recorded.
Good. Are we there? I think we're there, Council.
Okay. 4:35, call the meeting to order. Let the minutes reflect that Counselor Best, Counselor Arnold, myself were present. Counselor Moore should be joining us when she gets out of an appointment. I don't think she's on at the time. Counselor Moore, if you are on at the time, could you please make your presence known? Are they muted or are they unmuted? It looks like they're all muted.
Yes.
Is that by our choice or theirs?
Yes.
All right. Okay, a motion from someone to approve the agenda as presented.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I had a question about the agenda. I noticed that the CDL update was removed. And I kind of wanted an update to see where we are on trying to fill those positions.
The guys had it removed because they didn't have all the information to come back
Okay.
to present it again. So that's why it was removed from the draft. So is that correct? You guys aren't ready to talk CDLs yet?
We can certainly.
We can't add it to the agenda. We can, if someone wants to.
I just don't want it dropped.
No, it hasn't been dropped. You weren't ready for a formal presentation. So it's already on the draft for next month, but there'll be no presentation today.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion to approve the agenda and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now, the approval of the minutes from March 27. Did anyone have any changes they desired to put forward? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. Non-action items, project update discussion.
Okay, so project update, what you have before you there, on the left side is the water feature for the inclusive park. Those are both pictures of the inclusive park. I get a little heartburn because the Mexico Environment Department gave us some code changes that we had to do. They call it the splash pad. All it's gonna be is just some bubblers shooting up. So, had to do a change order, meet Mexico Environmental Department, but basically what you're gonna have is gonna be like walking through the sprinkler system. This is an inclusive park, but that's the circle for the water feature. And then you'll have the controls in the middle so you can turn it on and off. And then on the right, that's one of the playground equipment for the inclusive park, and what they're putting on is a UFO shade cover. This is Roswell. Next slide. On the left is the 36-inch water repair that's been completed. Is that correct?
Yes, it's been completed, fully operational. Valves all the way over.
The one on Alameda Street. And then on the right, that's a cemetery well project that we have going on. That was taken last week and they were drilling. They did a pressure test today and everything's looking good. It went down 384 feet. So
That ain't deep.
it's not deep.
That ain't deep.
That's not deep, but it's 384, so we're progressing with that. And I stand for any questions on the project dashboard. Hey, airport infrastructure update, Jennifer.
Yeah, can touch on this, one that had changed, which is the terminal parking lot construction will begin May 8th. The side water line is getting extended out till probably the end of May. And our first TAC meeting would be on the master plan. So we're waiting for the working papers to come out so we can critique those and send them back for comments. And today, we're trying to set up a meeting with BLM and the engineers so we can get everybody linked together on that. That's more boring being dead on the road paper site. So we should be getting some survey information back on that so we can start looking at installation. IREA upgrades are all done. And Trans-Arrow was kind of on hold at this moment because they're actually looking at another site. So that facility along. There's got some work to get back, information to get back to us on. We can move forward on that. And the last thing is a new project coming out, which will be the replace the hold bars and the standard hold spines. Any questions?
Questions, comments concerning airport at this time? All right, solid waste.
Abraham?
Committee, thank you for having this committee chair and council members. As you know, we've been going through Article 1. We're at Article 2. Just to give you a quick background, the current chapter of the Chapter 21 of the Solid Waste Ordinance was last updated in 1984. Has 2 articles, which are a total of 8 pages. It's been edited in bits and pieces, but needs to be modernized. The new landfill permit expected to be completed in FY24, so we want to anticipate the completion of our modernization of the code and to coincide with this. The updated chapter has 7 articles and it's over 50 plus pages long. The reason I say 7, we're going to try to incorporate an article that addresses illegal dumping. Today, there's nothing that addresses illegal dumping at the city level, only at the state level. Next slide. Again, for some of you that haven't seen this is going to be kind of our process, our workflow. We'll get the article, solid waste department will review it. We'll bring it to legal. Legal has edits. We'll come back to us. Legal has no edits. We'll bring it down for approval. We'll present it to infrastructure. And can you close that window?
Oh, sorry about that.
And then infrastructure, we'll have a discussion. They'll send it back to edits, or if they approve, we'll send it to committee for discussion. Either way, this is the workflow that we're doing. Let me see the next slide, Linda. And also, it's just kind of our plan of action. We're presenting an article for discussion, the meeting, and then presented an action item for edits. The next meeting, introducing a new article for discussion. Rough timeline has a full ordinance we reviewed at the end of December before going to full council for a full approval. Request the infrastructure committee, we can send the ordinance to any subcommittee you request. Anything relating to fees will go to general services if the chair and the committee decides. Law related items will go to legal. Enforcement related items will go to public safety or legal as well, depending on where the infrastructure committee wants us to go. Next slide. Here's kind of an outline of how we're going to kind of work through it. There's a lot of items here that we're going to be referenced to legal. They're going to have to be going to legal. So we'll kind of work through it. You can hit the next slide, Glenda, then I'll go to the highlighted areas in your folders. So committee chair and if you go to page 3, general statement, line 8. The general statement, everything that's redlined in there in your folders, we're looking to review that as well. On the general statement, I want to read it out, so I want to get some guidance from committee members here. General statement, the responsible party of any premises, business, establishment, or industry is responsible for the sanitary conditions of the premises, business, establishment, or industry, and for the proper storage, containment, and placement for collection of solid waste. All solid waste must be sorted in a manner that does not present a health or safety hazard, public nuisance. No person shall deposit or allowed to be placed or deposited on their premises or private property, any public street, alley, or right of way, any solid waste except in a manner prescribed in this chapter. The reason I want to bring that up is because we have a lot of bulk trash, illegal dumping citywide. It's pretty rampant. I think this kind of encompasses what we're looking at. Although I'd like to get some feedback from the councilors if you have any on this section, and we can take some notes and review it to legal again. And also on line 23, such containers, if you notice in the black, that's already in our chapter now. I'll read the red section. This will be assessed by a director or their designee to ensure there's adequate service. If service is found to be insufficient, service will be adjusted according in an effort to maintain health and safety of the public, and appropriate fees will be charged for section 2170 fees and containers. The reason we bring that up, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of the hotels. In the winter, their occupancy rates are like at 20%, 15 to 20% at the most. Come summer, their occupancy raises, their refuge rises, their frequency of service needs to rise. Sometimes those individuals be like, hey, you know what? I want to keep it at my winter levels. Can't do that. The cans are overflowing, the containment areas are overflowing, so we have present a little bit more issues. So we're able to have that. We'll memorialize it in the ordinance so we can have that conversation and say, you know what, we're going to adjust your service based on what you're using. We're going to bring you more containers, or we're going to increase the frequency of service as well. If there's no questions or comments, I can move on to the next section if you want, Committee Chair.
Questions or comments?
No, sir.
Next, page 4, line 8. What we want to address here is you're responsible for the containment of your solid waste until we come to service it. So a lot of people, they'll try to get an additional service or service to areas that have already been serviced, and we have to go back and do it. So we just want to memorialize that, and kind of goes back into also with chapter 16. We found out that chapter 16 was actually rewritten with the ordinance 2105. It was done pretty well. And that we're going to be piggybacking off a lot of that. It just, in this section, just the owner, the leasing, what we're going to do is if we have illegal dumping on our property, we're going to look for the landowner. We're not going to be looking for the renter or the leasing. We're going to be looking for the landowner and have that conversation with them to help abate any issues that pose a public health and safety risk at that time. Line 14, this is another one I need some guidance on this one as well. In addition to the penalty being imposed pursuant section III of the section, a person in violation of the subsection must take restitution to the city for all cleanup or disposal costs incurred by the city by fees per 2170. The reason we bring that up is we'll do multiple avenues of contact to try to get a hold of the owner, the property owner, anybody we get no response. And if it poses an immediate health and safety risk, what we do is we go out there and we abate the area, we make it safe for the public. And what's happening there is the solid waste department is incurring to run the bulk trash program that does that kind of cleanup. We're looking at about $1.1 million that we under recover in that program as we stand today.
Question?
Yes, sir.
We're still dealing with just commercial, or is this in residential as well?
This is commercial and residential. Any questions, comments on page 4?
Moving on.
This seems trivial, this next one, page 5, line 1. All cardboard boxes should be broken down and placed in the container so that when it's inverted, it self-empties. Because of Amazon, I'll blame Amazon and UPS. There's a lot of boxes that are just in the general location of the garbage can, flying around down the street, down the alley. We'd like to encourage our citizens to break those boxes down, bring them into the can so we can service them properly, dispose correctly. Sometimes they'll shove them in the containers. They're not broken down. So we got to sit there and manually remove them, or have the machines going back and forth trying to get them all out. So it's it's pretty hectic. And you have a question else?
I don't have a question. I just have a statement. I will say that my mother and I are diligent about breaking down her daily Amazon boxes, but at the same time, when you have like a multi-use, I already know who did it. And I'm not a big proponent of writing laws that aren't necessarily enforceable. I'm more of a proponent of public education. So to me, it's just in here and it can't be enforced. So what's the point of it being in here?
So I understand your question. So when there's just 300, yes, a lot of people share that area. We are moving towards the 96 gallon containers citywide. Usually when we get those in the 300s, what we'll do is we'll do a notice to the entire neighborhood. Can you work with us? Kind of help us out, break those boxes down, let's work together. We're all sharing the same can. It just makes our service a lot more efficient and cleaner as well. But we can definitely review that with Vigo again and see if you want to make an adjustment or strike it.
I'm going to circle it and think about it. But like I said, without enforcement, it's just words.
So page 5, 17, yes, sir.
I'll come back to you in a moment. Go ahead.
Okay. At the discretion of the director, this next section here kind of addresses when we do transitions over. When we transition from 300 gallon containers to 96 containers, we've had a lot of feedback in the community and citizens like, hey, you know what? You don't have the right to do that. We have a lot of feedback. So I think since I've been in the last 2 years, if we memorialize it again, just notice this is what we're going to follow, this is how we're going to do it with the proper notice and let the community know. These come about whenever we come across alleys that are way too small, pose a significant safety risk, or we're damaging light poles, we're damaging property, we're damaging fences. It's just not as safe for us to navigate those alleys. So we want to be able to provide a notice, a pathway, so we can notify the community, notify citizens, this is how we're going to do it, this is what's going on, this is how we're going to help you walk through it. Any questions on that section?
My question is more to, and it's becoming more consistent throughout here. We're moving away from the word city and going to the word director. What is the benefit of going away from a more broader term and going with a singular term?
Those decisions that are made at the departmental level,
You have to say it a little louder. I'm sorry.
some of those decisions that are made at the departmental level are a lot, multiple. So I think in the creation of this document, when we're working through it, it would be a lot of conversation with the city manager pretty much on a weekly basis. Would you like to go this route? Would you like to go that route? And then as the director, as a designee of the city manager, that would be able to make those decisions. But if you would like, we can.
Well, I'm just only seeing on page 3, 2 instances of city manager being replaced with director. But now we're starting to replace the word city with director.
That might have been a typo on our end, Councilor.
I see a big difference between city and city manager. City encompasses significantly more if the director's out of town, if the director's in the hospital, or if we don't have a director at the time and we have, assistant directors, or we have supervisors or whatever that are doing different things. The word city encompasses all of that, where the word director is very specific and could really throw us in a bind if that's not readily available.
Mr. Chair?
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that when Mr. Mavers presented the CUP, and it kind of stuck out with me there as well. If I may actually ask Mr. Cole, what are your thoughts on actually having it like specific issues that pertain to that department go specifically to that director?
If they're specific to that department, don't do that. I think there's going to be question marks. Are they specific to that department? City,
I can see some of these that are noted in here actually do pertain specifically to the department. And I maybe that's something to be mindful of what pertains specifically to the department and what should be broader. Because like I said, I did see this language before and was kind of wondering about honing it in the department and what should be broad. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Well, my view on that is when you use the word city, you've got a broad brush. And then the city manager has no problem with that wording, to putting the director over that. But, you know, and then if the director is no longer there, or the director's on vacation, or the director, his kid's sick that day, something happens, we're not stuck saying, well, according to this, the director's in charge of that because of the broad brush. Now the manager can have a deputy director, or can have a foreman, or a supervisor, or assistant city manager, or a sister department that is close in nature to be able to step in and deal with that. It doesn't change the fact that the city manager, in my opinion, should have the authority to organize his departments as would see fit. So the word city will give that area. You're not, if we get ourselves into defining ourselves into a corner, then I expect us to stay in the corner. Not right director, but then when the director's not available, well, he's not available, so I'll just do it, or I'll make this decision of that. Then we might as well stay with, I'd just rather have it broad.
So under Article 1 of the definition, so we had director, it would be actually the director or the designee for that department. So I would, as Chad designates solid waste to me, I would designate to an individual in my absence, or the absence of the director, we have someone designated for that. Also in 2612, we have a delegation of authority that we looped in. I'll read it for you real quick if you don't mind, sir. Whenever a provision requires an official, the head of the department, or another officer or employee of the city to perform the act of duty, that provision shall be construed as authorizing that official, department head, officer, or employee to delegate that responsibility to others whom they have authority. We can definitely flesh that out when you dig into that a little.
I still think that regardless of what our definitions are of what a director is and these other things, that won't change if the city reorganizes at some point, and we even change the names from directors. That happens quite a bit in different things. I just think that you don't have to go back and change anything. By defining with the word, by utilizing the word city, you still are able to accomplish, I think, what you're wanting to do. That's just how I feel on it.
Can I ask one more?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, because I've seen this before, it kind of raises the question, by having it at city, have you had any issues with getting tasks accomplished because it's not actually designated?
We've had some issues with that, but be at the city manager level. So I've gone to the previous city manager and they would automatically default back to me anyways. So they'd be like, Abraham, it's your decision.
But when it's broad, when it's broad at city level, it's not preventing you from doing your.
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It hasn't to this point. Thank you for the notes, Council Perry. We'll review that. The next section, the highlighted section, is going to be page 7. It is line 12. It is unlawful for any person to utilize solid waste receptacle assigned to other persons for the disposal of solid waste without their permission. This does not apply to the automated solid waste collection where residents share the use of common containers. The reason we want to bring that up is we have a lot of participants throughout the entire city that utilize the dumpsters wherever they find them, mainly commercial. And sometimes our commercial businesses are hindered in that point where they're paying for a specific service at a specific rate, specific frequency. And when they come in on Monday morning, their containers are full. So again, this kind of goes back to your point, Council Arnold, is that it gives us an avenue, another avenue where we can utilize enforcement. Our staff and our city employees are running around the entire city. When you see somebody pulling up to a large dumpster and filling it up, it's not really fair to the business that's actually paying for that container as well. So if you have any questions or comments or feedback on that one, I'd like to.
What are the penalties?
That was my question.
So some of the penalties, we built them in down the road. It would be either, first of all, I would start with maybe educating that individual, having the conversation first. Hey, look, let's not do that. Look at your options at the landfill. This is what you can do. Some options available to you. After that, I'd probably fall back on code enforcement and start being a little bit more aggressive. Get them to court, any kind of civil penalties for the illegal dumping. And sometimes we've come across instances where businesses have had hazardous waste or asbestos dumped in their containers. And by default, it would go to them.
Mr. Chair, so do you have a subsection or a section that notes penalties?
It's coming up.
Okay, and so if it might be of us to refer to that.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Best.
So I want to make note that number 9 that we just looked at on page 7 and 5 with the III, they kind of are all in the same scenario with your boxes and this. So I'm for the III, which is on page 5, line 1. Because if you're going to be a sleuth, if it keeps continuing to happen, you're going to be a stealth sleuth. You can sit there and pick up the box and see the address on it, so you will know who is not breaking on the box. So you might want to somehow put that also over here, saying that you're going to give them a penalty if not. Thank you.
Anything else in that section?
That's it for that section, Councilor. There's a lot. I know there's a lot of.
Right, forgive me, your voice is just so low, it's hard for me.
It's my voice as well. I don't usually have a loud voice. A lot there. I know there's a lot of reading. There's a lot going through there. But I mean, revising this ordinance and modernizing it is really going to help us move forward. There are a lot of items that cross-reference multiple chapters and cross-reference illegal. That's one of the concerns I could probably ask the committee. There's a lot of things in here that need to be vetted by the legal department. We do run it for legal review first before I come here. There's a lot of items that are going to be cross-referencing back and forth. So another option for you committee members and chair, if you would want us to run through this process through the new committee and bring it back to you with a full document ready for you.
I would not see that. There ends up being a lot of confusion. I think we've seen that here of late when we have things seen in multiple committees, it just leads to confusion. So I'm in the legal department, of course. I'm hoping this is being vetted to some degree through the legal.
Yeah, so every single one of them, we run it to legal first. If they have any question, comments, so they'll give us some feedback. I actually put that in the abstract whenever we email it to them. This one was sent on April 11th.
So you have to say that last part again.
April 11th, we submitted this to legal.
Okay.
The next article, we submitted that on March 6th.
Okay.
We always run it to legal first, wait for their feedback, and then we come here.
Okay. And I'm fine with just staying with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, so, yeah, I actually will agree that the legal, if the legal has any comments, or you will share them.
Yes,
Okay.
when they come across, we'll highlight them for you. We'll probably pick a different color, probably a blue.
Okay.
And then you'll see what legal's doing. We'll let you know what the color is. That'd my architect. That's it for me, Councilor. Chairman, thank you.
Other questions, concerns? Can you look and see if it's online, make sure no one's asked any questions? That's no, Councilor Moore looks to be with us. If you can unmute her or she muted herself. Councilor Moore, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Thank you, Councilor Moore. For the record, can you tell us what time you entered the meeting?
Just a couple of minutes before 5.
Okay, all right, then.
But,
They'll be able to see, I'm sure, as they review the meeting. Thank you for joining us. We'll move on to the next portion here. I'm just sorry. Yes, Rita.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a problem.
On this area here?
On this area right here.
Go ahead.
By the way, there are 17 changes from city to director in case you didn't count them.
Okay.
I want you to know that I'm a layperson and therefore this is very, very easy for me to read. It's very concise. There should be no problems with anything. Abraham, did you write this?
No, man, we utilize different ordinances from different cities within Mexico and probably some from Arizona.
You mean like Phoenix? that did this in 2020, 2021. It's almost word for word from Arizona. Just wanted to make sure that that came out. Also, I also believe that the city should have a large input in this. And instead of having just director, I think it should be the city or the city manager. Because as Lord Acton said in 1887, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Thank you.
Were you there in person when he said?
Of course I was, and I was wearing one of those red wigs, so you saw me coming.
Okay. All right, moving on. Utility ordinance, chapter 26.
Robert Glenn.
So just so you know, Article 4 will be the last one. It's going to be an easy one to do. From here on out, it's rates and all the fun stuff. So this one is a pretty straightforward article. The first part, the purpose, and we talk about application for service. The next one is infrastructure extensions. And this is if it's a small extension, kind of like what Mr. Rick Kraft did out on 27th. He did a block that just covered a couple of houses. So that's what this is for. This isn't for a developer. On that section, down subsection E, that's highlighted, we need to just take that out.
Say that one more time.
Subsection E on 26-132. Bottom of the page.
You want it taken out?
Yes, that we found out we can't do that here. It really works well, but there's too many. Lewis didn't like it. The attorneys didn't like it. So
Reimbursement of extension.
yeah, to do the reimbursement for extensions.
Okay.
You can do it. It works well. We can't do it here. So that solved that problem.
All right.
The next one is transfer of service. One of the big changes here is in the second paragraph for rental properties where the utility account is in the name of the tenant. Upon written notice of the date the tenant intends to leave the property, the utility shall revert back to the property owner's name. The existing tenant shall be responsible for all services until such notice is given and the city has made the final meter read. The property owner shall be responsible for utility fees until the new tenant submits an application and has been approved as a city utility customer.
Okay. Questions, comments about that?
That way we've got consistency on, there's always somebody responsible for that address.
Okay.
The other section to bring forward is
130.
permanent disconnection of service. A second line, permanent disconnection of service may also occur if an account is closed and the meter is removed from the premises for violation of sections 2621 or 2622. If the disconnection occurs, the customer would be required to submit a new application and may be subject to deposits. Those two sections are, if you remember back, that's if they continually try and steal water from us.
Right.
And that's what we have been doing. So any questions on any of that?
Questions? Councilor Moore, do you have any questions on either one of those?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Thank you.
Councilor Moore, we'd like to get your red book back from you sometime. If we can get that, I would be more than happy to come and meet you or pick it up sometime.
Councilor
My
Moore
what?
Councilor Moore has had her hands full, I'm sure, for the last several weeks. The red, I don't know if you can see the red notebooks that were given out. Did you ever get yours?
I never received one of those.
Cylinder box.
Okay, I know where it is now and we will get that updated and get that to you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. That'll be good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Councilman Moore, I'm assuming as well, do you have one of the green ones that's just been given out in the last
No,
month?
sir.
Okay. You got that as well. Okay. If you have a need, I'd be more than glad to bring those to you if you'll just let me know if you need that. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Moving on to regular items for action, solid waste, chapter 21, article 1.
Abraham.
On Article 1, there's just mainly definitions. I just wanted to touch base with everybody here. So if there's any items you want to review in Article 1, so we can go ahead and.
Let's see here.
These are mainly the definitions, so we can go
I
ahead.
have a question on page 7, line 33, person.
Yes.
The definition was any person owning, operating, or controlling any house, residence, shop, commercial establishment, hotel, restaurant, market, apartment, condominium, or tenement house, or any other place of business within the city to include tenants, lessees, or occupants, and to be replaced with any individual institution, state, municipal, county, or private corporation, individual partnerships, or other entity. I understand the going, keep it simple type thing. Just want to make sure, I guess my first question is, where did the new definition come from?
So again, going with that line of thought is we just want to simplify the process instead of it being so wordy. We try to keep it as short as possible.
Okay.
No, make any adjustments
No, and I wouldn't be the one to even attempt to try to make an adjustment, except to say, I just need to make sure we understand that by the word any individual, that does not mean that they have to be part of, an institution or an entity. If I'm a property owner, I am covered under this individual.
Okay.
Is that correct? This is what I'm asking.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. So,
I've seen the word private for that in some places.
and that's sort of what I'm getting at. When I read through it quickly, I look at things more of on a corporate, or business type. So I think that, so maybe the addition of the word private, individual, comma, institution, state, municipal, individual, partnership, or other entity, that might be beneficial.
You got it.
Okay. I think that was the only one that made me scratch my head at all, but let me just double check. Anyone else? Any other staff or county residents that has a?
I think that this is word for word from what Phoenix had. And I've got the papers here. And they told me when they wrote it. I'm just saying, if we take somebody else's, we need to tell people that, this is a combination, shouldn't it be in writing instead of just letting people believe that Abraham wrote this?
Why?
Why shouldn't it, Janine?
Why are you having, excuse me, Jason,
Go ahead, Councilman.
why are you having issues with us instead of reinventing the wheel, bringing stuff that is known to work to this city?
I agree totally, but I don't think that he should allow people to think that he wrote this. I agree. This is great. This is great, and I'm glad that we are incorporating it because it makes sense.
You should thank him for going to that effort, not just because he came from Arizona, like you put all over at Facebook, fine. Yes, people have moved to this city to make this city better.
Right.
And that's what it's about. Instead of chasing them off, let them do their job. Whether he's pulled it out of the air from Farmington, excuse me, all of the lawyers' new stuff is from Farmington. No one's bothered to tell the city that, but yet you're going to have a problem with us taking something from Phoenix that has worked and putting it in place or incorporating it with ours. I'm sorry, Jason.
Yeah,
but that is not.
What's on that table? Because I'm closing the back to the car.
Let me have order. 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 I think that it's been mentioned, and I think that we know. I'll just say this, and I want to go to Councilor Moore here. It's not anything new for us to look at what other municipalities, what other governmental organizations have done and to adopt. We've actually had stuff that has been done here that has been adopted by the county. That I take, for instance, just because and I'm not saying just because that's part of it, just because I remember it, the sexually oriented business ordinance. The county took what we had, they liked it, they put it forward and adopted a very, very, very similar product. And then other municipalities and governmental, I can't think of who right now, but others did the same. When you find something that works, it's a beneficial thing and will be helpful. So Councilor
Chair?
Moore. Yes, go
Chair,
ahead.
what I was ready to say is same thing is that we've been doing ever since I've been here. We have been using other people's ordinances. We have been using other people's ordinances and adopting them and using them, and there's never really been in this situation. I think is we're not writing a college paper where we need to give credit for where the information has come from, and so I don't necessarily see the issue that it needs to be uh, uh, written that it came from Arizona. I've on several occasions I've gotten from neighbors, from the new lawyer, from NEB, that we've gotten stuff from other places because they've been there and they know the information, and so it's just incorporated. We at any time have the opportunity to change some wording or update it if it doesn't fit where we are. So I don't necessarily see a problem. With him getting the wording from another state. Like I said, as far as I know, as long I've been here, not too long, but that we've been doing that ever since I've been a part of the council. When we updating all these ordinances and all these manuals and all these, because it's a lot of wording. No one, we as teachers, we've always been trained, don't reinvent the wheel. We don't have to redo everything. And so I'm okay with it coming from another state and not giving them credit. For the most part, they ain't gonna know it or not. They're not gonna come down here and read our manual. Um, and there's no legalese, and I'm sure our lawyer would have said if we couldn't take that from Florida and use it without, causing some issues. So I think we're fussing about some small things that are really unnecessary. I don't think it's something that really needs a fussing to discuss, we're discussing, not fussing, just discussing. So let's keep it at just discussing and not fussing.
Thank you, Councilor Moore. I'm ready to move on forward. Is there any other definitions that anyone had concerns or any changes to look at? You're asking for a vote so we can move this forward, correct?
Yeah, we'll move it over to the red line side so we can, this one's done, we'll move on to the next one.
Let me just ask, did anyone have a problem with putting private before individual under the definition of anyone? Okay, so if you could make that change.
Yes.
Move that to your.
Where was that again, please? I'm sorry.
That was page number 7.
Thank you.
Line number 36.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations. There's your first part.
One down, 6 to go.
That doesn't need a vote. We're not moving it forward. That can just be a consensus as far as I think. Is that okay? Everybody agree? All right, so there's your consensus.
Thank you.
Move that over. Utility Ordinance, Chapter 26, Article 3, wastewater services.
Everybody knows I have stolen and plagiarized mine from everywhere. Article 3, wastewater services, Division 1 generally. Was there any questions on any of this? This is fairly straightforward. Counselor Arnold, you had a question on 26-76 commodity charge. Did I answer that well enough for you on what the commodity is?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me re-explain something real quick, just so everybody's on the same page, and if there's anything that y'all feel or anybody feels like we need to change, we will. With both of these, the reason we've got these packets and stuff is this is the beginning of a process, and we're getting through the definitions, then we've got this portion and the next portion, the next portion. And this being ordinance, this has to go to public hearing, and I don't think that we want to send definitions to public hearing and then having the definitions change before everything else changes, because many of these definitions aren't even in the words are probably not even in the current ordinance. I don't know. So we need a complete document to take to full council and then to the public. So we are taking this in bits, and we've not voted to send anything forward because our choice is to have a consensus. We'll move that into the back of the binder. The next section, we'll have a consensus on it, move it to the back of the binder. And then at the end, we'll have a full document that we will approve to send to the full council. So okay? Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you. Sorry.
Because yes, that was our plan, because there's going to be changes that we have to make in the red line as we go through and find other sections that we're working on. That's why we're not trying to do it all at once.
And with definitions, we may get halfway through this process and find something else that needed to be defined.
Yes.
That keeps us from having to redo everything time and time again. Okay, back to where we were. I'm sorry.
Well, Mr. Chair, that brings up a question. Because those are noted under action items, does it matter if we just make a consensus versus a vote under action items?
We vote where we're sending it to. That, I mean, it's still an action. A consensus is still an action.
I just didn't know because I agree with the process you described. It makes total sense. I just didn't know about placement.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, on section 26-72, we will be changing it from, it says all occupied properties cities used for human habitation and occupancy with lives within, should be 300 feet.
Yeah, on that 72, there's a 300 and a 400. I need to find out for sure why I did what I did. There might be a reason, there might not be. It's been a mistake. So I will get that corrected.
And there's a
And that
typo.
we
Make
will-
sure you make that 76.
Say that again, Councilor Moore.
There's just a little typo. It should say 75, 76. It says 74.
Where's this at?
On that page that's on the screen, I don't know if we're looking at the same page. It says Article 2674, 2675, 2674.
Oh,
So it's,
thank you.
So just my fingers getting crazy.
And that's just a teacher reading everything. So, okay.
It's correct in the binder, so.
Okay.
So did anybody have any questions on that first section? The next section, that should be changed to Division 2. Is that what's in your binders? Okay, it's just been in mine then. And this is the industrial waste.
Mine says Division 3.
Okay, it should say Division 2.
Say that again. Industrial waste should be.
It should say Division 2 industrial waste.
Okay, well, now you have me questioning because I have what could be 11 or II. So that's fine. Is that considered division 2? Because mine isn't numbered.
Yes, that should be Division 2. That is Division 2.
Okay.
Okay. This one, after discussion last time, we're taking all the definitions out of this, moving them all to the definitions in the front. So all the definitions will be in one place. So that goes all the way through to section 2692. And after that, I can honestly say I don't know what most of that means. But it's what we currently have and it has been updated. There's no changes from what is in the current ordinance.
Okay.
And it seems to be working fine, so.
Okay, any changes to 2692, 93?
No,
596. Then I had a question with on page 72 of the packet,
section.
section 2699, specifically prohibited discharges. Down on number 10, section question mark, dash, question mark, question mark.
Yes, I put that in there so I can make sure that I refer back to the right section. So that'll be fixed in your red lines also.
So we're just not there yet.
Yeah. You got the same thing on 26102, accidental discharges.
I have ordinance number 1103. Is that correct?
Yes, that one I need to make sure and see if we need to reference that or if it's coming out completely.
Has legal taken a look at this?
We're looking at that right now. Make sure that we're covering that properly.
Everything else is the same, correct? All right, there.
Andrew has been through this and our pre-treatment guy has been through this. There was no changes that they had requested.
There again, this is just a piece of the puzzle. This is not a completion piece of the puzzle. Now, back to Council Arnold, we were sort of having a conversation and I think we got sidetracked a little bit. If the committee decides that we want to take action, I guess we could say, we make a motion that we confirm, the information as presented, but I'm not game on sending anything forward to, because this is even going to change, I promise. As you add more, you're going to say, well, we really should have fixed this, and there's still going to be stuff. So my opinion is consensus, but if there's been a need to.
No,
Okay.
I absolutely agree with you. I was just kind of confused about non-action. So that's what I was just trying to understand. No, I
It
think
is
you're right.
action by consensus, we're moving it, but it's staying within the committee.
It's just letting me know that you guys are okay with the way it is right now and we can move on to the next section.
Anything else in this section?
Nope. Then just real quick, you notice that the first section of red lines has been added to the back of your binder.
Yes.
So then we'll add this section and just keep going through. Like I said, the next several will be a lot more exciting.
Yeah. And I may come get some better understanding on some of this. Yes.
And if it's wastewater stuff, you want to talk to Andrew. Because if it's stinky, I don't deal with it.
You're in government, you deal with it. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any concerns? All right.
Next one.
Okay. Moving forward to the well. Brenda?
Hey, Mr. Chair, committee members, I'm here today asking you to consider approval for change order to Alpha Southwest for RAC Well 3 VFD project in the amount of $178,836.04. The change order to RAC Well 3, the VFD project, was due to a 25% increase in materials, parts and labor for running the underground electrical, and for additional underground piping and valves to tie the well back into the city water system. So I had different VFD pictures that I had sent Lewis. I guess I didn't make it on this one. The materials are a lot more expensive. The supply chain changed dramatically the last few years because of COVID and everything else. So there's no way to not do this. And also, I am recommending that the RAC Well 3 VFD project's shortfall come from cost underrun for the REACT Water Reservoir Project, purchase order 2210-0327. And This change order will increase the purchase order from $369,937 to $548,773.04. It does include the New Mexico grocery receipts tax. With that, I stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so where do you have this money hidden? Is it like in a drawer, in a pocket, or in a shoe? Yeah.
It's part of an active PO for the,
So there's that.
Water towers?
It exists.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
it appears that we're going to underrun that project.
Okay,
The same one, we're pulling out the money for the Atkinson project also.
okay.
Questions?
And this, excuse me, is this, where's this? Where do we see this picture before? I remember seeing, have we started this? We went this out somewhere before and didn't get it done? Is that why this picture looks so familiar? I guess that's maybe in my,
As I said, Councilor Moore, I have a new PowerPoint that I sent Louis. I think he just put this one on here.
Yeah, I didn't see your
Oh, okay.
PowerPoint.
He probably used one of my old ones. I do have an updated PowerPoint. It just didn't make it on this.
Actually, Counselor, this well is over there by your house.
I feel like this picture I've seen before somewhere and I was like, I've seen this little thing. So that's.
Yeah, this is a generic well. What you see there is the
Okay.
pumps and then the cabinet, the VFD variable frequency drive pumps. So they start up slowly. And then when you shut them down, they shut down slowly. It saves on energy and wear and tear on the pumps.
Okay. And the money's already been, whatever, put out or what, I don't know if that's the word.
The money's not in this particular one, but the money, we believe there's remaining money from another. We're just going to make a.
So we already got a purchase order out for the
Already
money, so we're
budgeted.
just doing the balance.
When we close the project, we'll have money left over that we'll reallocate to this project.
Okay, that's what okay.
That's how we're going to do it, Counselor.
Thank you.
I'll
That answered my question.
entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the BFW project change order for the RAC well number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We sitting to full council consent. Or did you say? I'm sorry.
I did not.
Okay.
Consent,
That's up to you. Just, okay.
Money's there.
Money's there.
A motion for consent for the change order to Alpha Southwest for RAC Well 3 BFD project, 178-830-604 for the consent agenda. And it's seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Councilor Moore, we didn't hear anything. Was yours in favor?
Yes, I said aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We just didn't hear. That's okay. I think the way the computers work, it may
I think it's a
override each
little
other.
lag. I think it's a little lag.
All right. Now the ITB 23021 for the complex water line.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, committee, which I have before you is asking to recommend award of ITB-23-021 Cielo Grande Sports Complex Waterline Projects to White Cloud Pipeline in the amount of $415,772.95. You can see the bids, and the low bid was White Cloud of $523,284.62. I'm pulling the roll book out on this one. If you look on your, on page 96, paragraph 10, the city does have the right to award a project at a lesser amount. And let me tell you what we're doing, because going to make something work. If you remember, we got the money, legislative grant for the Cielo Grande Sports Complex baseball fields. Obviously, $850,000 is not going to build you a sports complex. We did the master plan, and then we had some change left over. So what I'm doing, I'm taking the $300,000 in change. I have money left over in the design. I'm gonna de-obligate that money and obligate that to this, which give me a total amount, $415,772.95. As you can see, Cielo Grande is also, it's not a developed neighborhood. Y'all remember all the roads that we have, they're all poor paving with millings and everything else. The solid blue line is what we're gonna build. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make this project work. I hate to give money back to the legislature. And we will end up with the water line. And the way we'll trim some of the work is this, that's not true paving, everything else, that's milling. Street department will do some in-kind work. Water department will do some more in-kind work and provide some of the parts. But when it's all said and done, the project will be completed and the water lines will been looped. But by awarding the project, then that gives me the opportunity then to make a negative change order with the awardee and get the work done. I cannot do a change order until the project's been awarded. And I have been talking with White Cloud and we have a plan.
There is mud.
It's just knowing the rules.
I know, I'm aggravated. Counselor Moore, any questions, concerns, thoughts?
No, I'm like you, was a little confused about moving the money, but as long as, he understands the process, that's his job to understand that process. And so I'm really okay with that.
Councilor Moore, all this money is from the legislative grant. So all I'm gonna do is take the money that we paid the consultant to design. We obviously can't go any further with the design because we don't have money or support. So we'll de-obligate, I think, $69,000, $72,000 from the design. And we have some unobligated money left over in the grant. Add them together, that's $415,000 and change. And that's what I'll do the change order for, get the project done.
And the contractor will be, White Cloud is okay with taking that less amount of money, or that's what you're saying, they're gonna work it through where it only costs the 400 and.
Well, what happens is, street department will do some of the road work. Water department do some of the water work. So we'll eliminate some of the items from the contract.
Okay.
And we'll get it down to 415,000. The brunt of the work will be done by White Cloud, but we'll do some in-kind services to make the budget work. Again, we're doing core bore engineering and construction and making things work.
Okay.
All right.
This can't go to consent.
I want you to explain this to the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We'll entertain a motion.
Give me 2 seconds. Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend the award of ITB 23021 to the consent agenda for Cielo Grande Sports Complex Water Lines Project to White Cloud Pipeline in the amount of $415,772.95, which includes GRT.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to send to consent, recommendation to approve the award of ITB 23021. Any other questions, concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All opposed, same sign.
Y'all
Motion
know that's not staying on consent.
If you'll just stay quiet about it. All right. Anything else within the department reports? Department stuff we can read if you have any concern.
Here, if you have any questions.
Can you look online? Do we have anyone online for public comment? Anyone online for public comment? Anyone in person for public comment? Got anything, Mike, you'd like to talk about? Do you want to stay any longer and just talk, or
No, he doesn't want to.
Mr. Manager, anything? We stand adjourned at 5:40 PM. Thank you for your patience.
Red binders so I can update them. The two red binders and the trapper.